it's a total flip that one of the reasons why you didn't sprint was because of injury fears.
Right.
And now it's not only a lack of fear, but you believe that without sprinting, guys will get injured.
Absolutely. That there's no question. So, and it's fun. You saw JB's article, JB Marin's article, and I referenced it in the presentation, but it's great because he leads in with the article that, good athletes get hurt doing high-speed sprinting. Therefore, good athletes shouldn't do high-speed sprinting. Like he leads with something effectively like that in the first paragraph of the article. And I think that was a lot of what we looked at, in terms of what we saw as strength and conditioning coaches, because again, we were just doing it all wrong, right? We're running 40s with a bunch of dumbass football coaches, and we're doing it at the wrong time, and we're doing it without the right preparation. But the net result is we're getting, whatever. Every time we timed guys, we'd get 3 or 4 pulls every time. And I used to dread those days. I'd be like, oh God, like, do we have to time 40s? Like, does it really matter? And at that time, we were doing a lot of 10s. And the crazy part is I had unbelievable success with NFL Combine guys doing exactly what I'm doing now, or a modification of what I'm doing now. We timed all the time because we knew they were being evaluated based on time. But I think generally in training, we just felt like we don't have time for that. We don't have time for the setup. We don't have room in the weight room. There are all these things because, again, we were strength coaches. I was a heretic when my first big weight room had track surface in it, and every person that came into my weight room, to a man, walked in, looked at the empty space. We had 4 lanes of, at that time, Mondo track, and everybody was like, "What are you going to put here?" And I was like, "People." And they were like, "What do you mean? Are you still waiting for stuff to come in?" I'm like, "Nope, not waiting for anything to come in. We're going to have a big open space where we can do our sprints." But we did like Vern Gambetta stuff, pal drill, lean, fall, run, all that stuff. And that's all good stuff for warm up. But it really, the difference, and obviously you watched the presentation, is when you realize, and I've said this to everybody, when you start to see sprinting as a tool versus a test, everything changes. And that was what you got me thinking about, because you're sitting here saying, wait a second, I don't care if my sprinters lift. And I had to think about that. Because I remember listening to you say that, and I'm like, he doesn't care if his sprinters lift, but his sprinters are getting really fast. And you start looking and saying, well, wait a second, why is that? And that's where, like, I had that Carl Lewis, Ben Johnson slide, because I can always remember people talking about, Lewis kind of was disdainful of the weight room. You never saw videos of Lewis lifting, and you never heard stories about how much weight Lewis lifted. And you heard things like that he didn't really lift, or that he didn't like to lift. And he was probably like an extensions and curls and calf raise kind of guy, just go in and do some stuff. So he said he did it. But but the common denominator with those guys was sprinting. And that's, so I guess, like, for me, that was, the big epiphany was, okay, wait a second. We need to, now we've got this super powerful tool, and we got to figure out how to wield it.